Welcome to another episode of Comics and Sweet Tea. Hope you guys have had a great week. Thanks so much for tuning in today. You guys, hey, the numbers keep going up, so we're doing something right. Let us know what we're doing. Drop a comment. Jump in there. Be a part of the conversation. Let us know what you think. If you got any questions for myself or the creator of the week, be sure and drop those in there. Whether you're watching live or whether you're watching later on, get those in there and we'll get back to you. That's a guarantee. Just we're trying to grow this community and we can't do that without you guys. And just jump in there and let us know something. If it's nothing but hey, that's fine too. Give us a thumbs up. All those help out tremendously. Um, I hope you guys are doing well today. We got a great show for you planned. Something a little new this week. Going to give it a test run. So anyway, you let us know what you think about this. And that'll be our intro going forward, hopefully. So without further ado, I've rambled on enough. We've got Keith Foster in the house. He'll be talking about his latest project, Animals 2. Let's get Keith in here.
Here I am.
And there you are.
Boom.
It's boom. It's magic. Just like the work you do, man. It's magic. The stuff is awesome. I've been kind of following along silently for quite a while. We've been following each other on Instagram for quite a while.
Yeah.
Man, let's dive right into it. Tell us about Animals. Where did that come from? And just give us the full scoop on it. What you can without spoiling it.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, it was just one of those things of it's like where do ideas come from? I'm not sure, but I know that I was just I was sitting around one day and I was like, okay, like contagious viruses, right? Animals can catch them too. Let's have one make animals want to kill people. Like what? What about that? It was a logical progression in my brain, right?
Right.
Look, we know animals kill people, so it happens. You'll check on the news or something like that, and you'll see it happen. But this is intended to be different. It's intended to be, hunt, stalk, consider with human-like intellect. So it was like with a lot of the stuff I do it's like okay it's this levels of story. You get an idea and you're like okay that's a cool idea. Can it hold water? Can it be a story? Is it just a cool thing to say, or does it go deeper than that? And in this case, it went deep enough, I think, for to be to hold my interest for two issues. And for me, it's I have a music background. I currently am sort of on semi hiatus. We have lives, but I'm in a band called Big Pimp Jones, and something I think about a whole lot is the proper length of a song. Some songs are meant to be a minute and a half, and some songs are meant to be 10. And I think stories are that way too. Some stories are meant to really hold a long span, and they can just take on as much weight as you want to give them. But I liked Animals as like a nice 2 issue, get in, get out, be nasty, and be as gnarly as possible. And that's a lot of what this was, right? Because I've been doing comics for 10 plus years, and the first thing I did is this. It's finishing soon, but it's this 18-issue mega series called Kadoja, which is a giant monster story. And then after that, I wanted to do a kung fu book. So again, worked with a lot of collaborators through these projects and did a book called Three Protectors. And I've been getting more and more into horror. I've always loved horror, but there have been elements of it in Kadoja, but the Animals was really my exploration into full horror, and it came in parallel with me starting at the time, my first novel, which is also going to come out like later this year, early next year, which is a horror novel, right? So it's been fun to dip into those things and mess with the medium a little bit. So long
Right.
story, but what Animals is it was an attempt to tell a little bit different of a story in issue one. To have more of like flashes of almost paintings. That was the idea, and then put narration on top of those paintings, as opposed to, I mean, there is sequential action, but I like to think that it's just a shade different from the kind of action that I think we're all used to in comics, to experiment a little bit, right?
Right.
And then Animals 2, we changed artists. So Animals 2 follows a little bit more of that sequential action type thing, because when you have the climax of a story, it's good to have the sequential action bring it on home. I knew issue 2 was going to be much heavier in terms of the action. So anyway, here we are. It's live on Kickstarter now, and will be through, I think, July 15th, something like that. And I'm pleased with how it started. I'm pleased that some people have checked out the campaign, and that they want to get down with some gnarly horror.
Definitely, definitely. And I tell you what, that's one of the things that I love about the comic medium. I mean, pretty much the sky's the limit. Whatever you can imagine, you can make. That's
Hmm.
what's so awesome about comics, to
Yeah.
me. I mean, horror, sci-fi, you name it, you can do it. Whatever you can imagine, you can put to paper and make it happen.
Yeah.
Without where movies cost a lot of money, which comics do too, but not millions of dollars like movies do. And
Yeah.
you can bring so much with just a few pages.
Hmm.
It's incredible. So tell me this: I've been talking to a lot of different creators, and I know you've done a lot of Kickstarters yourself.
Hmm.
How do you feel about what's going on with Kickstarter right now? I mean, have you noticed a big shift in the last couple years? Has it affected your books as far as funding or anything like that?
Um,
Have you
is
seen
there
a big shift in your
so?
numbers or
Well, I'm curious. What is happening? I mean, I tend to put my head down in a hole and just make comics. Is there a consensus on what is happening on Kickstarter right now?
there really is. What we've been noticing, uh, and it kind of started a couple years ago, and I know you remember when Boom released Berserker on
Hmm.
Kickstarter before they actually went to print with it. And you're seeing more and more of that. You had a GI Joe thing.
Oh
The
yeah.
omnibus is hit a couple $1 million now. I think
Yes.
Ronda Rousey's doing. You're having Kickstarter kind of where they were originally for us little guys.
Hmm.
Now they're making a big shift towards known names, known
Hmm.
creators, and stuff like that. And I mean, I get it. It's a business.
Hmm.
I completely understand that, but why bring in a publisher like Boom or somebody like that? They have their own means of doing that,
Right.
and
Right.
a lot of indie creators, they're pissed, and rightly so. But I mean, it's an open forum. Kickstarters are out there for whoever,
Hmm.
So what are you going to do about it? I mean,
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah.
in the long run, yeah, I mean, it's like screaming at the mountain trying to make it move.
Hmm.
It's not going to happen, but that's basically what's going on. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on it? Has it
I
has
mean,
it affected your Kickstarters? Have you noticed that or
I haven't noticed any bit of a change.
gotcha?
Um, I mean, okay, I've noticed a mild change, but I
Right,
think for me, it's kind of like I put myself in the position of a comic fan, which I am. I
right.
think we all are, right?
Oh
Like
yeah,
if
definitely.
you make comics, you're probably in a pretty high strata of comic fandom to start with, right?
Hmm.
So while I'm not and I'm even thinking about it, a friend of mine back the GI Joe campaign, which you referenced, and I had this realization yesterday. I was actually thinking, I don't read GI Joe. I'm not a big GI Joe fan.
Yeah.
But as I just had finished my issue of Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers, I was like, oh crap. They like Image bought the Transformers license too. And if they did this same thing with Transformers, I would buy it. Right?
Right.
Like if they collected every, what is it, 88 issues or something of the original Marvel run of Transformers, I would buy it. And I say that because buying that, if in a theoretical like alternate where I buy that issue of that volume of Transformers, it doesn't affect anything else I buy. I'm still going to
Right.
the comic shop. I'm still getting comics through Kickstarter. I'm still doing all those things. So I think, I totally understand people when they say, oh, yeah, the big guys are kind of coming in and making this kind of boutique thing more of a big business thing. But I also think that in terms of being a comic fan with a budget, my budget, if I want it, I'm getting it. And
Exactly.
so and that's just the way I mean, the way I am is always, if I feel my campaigns aren't doing well enough, then what can I do to control that? Well, I
Right.
can make a better book. I can talk about it to as many people as possible. And then at least I get to go to bed at night knowing I'm controlling the things I can control. So it is, I know what you mean. It is weird. It is weird to see a, multi-million dollar campaign from a pretty substantial company. But I also think there's, despite all that, I do think everybody's got a little, room. Everybody's got a little light under the sun, as Parliament Funkadelic once said.
Definitely. Definitely. I'm kind of in the same area where you're at. I'm going to get what I'm going to get, period. If I like
Hmm.
it, I'm going to buy it
Hmm.
because weird things catch my eye, man. And, if I see it, I'm going to dig into it a little bit. If it catches my eye, I'm going to dig into it. That's the weird thing about comics too, though. I mean, you walk into a comic shop, you've got just a couple seconds for that book to catch.
Hmm.
I mean, that cover is the very first thing that catches your eye. If Unless you like a certain artist or a certain writer, but I mean, when you're just in there browsing, that cover is what sells it, you
Hmm.
know. And hey, I'm an artist first. I'm a writer now, but an artist first. That's what I generate to. When I see that art and it just jumps off the page, I'm gonna pick that book up. That's just
Hmm.
where I'm at. Um, and going forward, talking about animals,
Hmm.
what what would you say kind of was the inspiration for that? How did you get in the headspace to really jump off
Okay.
into that?
Okay. Yeah. And as you're asking it, I'm realizing the exact moment. The exact moment was, while I don't do it anymore, I definitely had a long run, no pun intended, with jogging. I ran a lot. So I
Gotcha.
would go out for a morning run, an evening run, whatever, paid runs, all that stuff, right? You asking me made me realize that I went on a run, and where I live in California, some of these areas, they're hilly and they have a
Right.
ton of coyotes.
Gotcha.
And so if you have a dog of any size, you need to be mindful of coyotes. So I was out running one time and it was dusk, because it gets hot in the summer in California. So you
Right.
gotta find a way to run. And when I went down a certain hill, there was a coyote like standing right there.
Oh wow.
And and I was like, man, the coyotes are that's a little aggressive for a coyote. Just to be out there. I mean, if you work late, you might hear the howl of coyotes. I'm up
Right.
in the mountains. I hear them all the time now, and it's always spooky, but at the time I'm running and I'm like, man, that coyote's awfully close to the road, and then the brain takes over. It's like, what if it had friends? What if those friends
Gotcha.
didn't understand the bounds of attacking smaller things? And what if they decided to attack a bigger thing? Read me, right? What
Yeah.
if these pack animals decided, you know what? Let's take a shot at taking him down. And so that is basically where Animals was born. And if you're anyone familiar with the first issue of Animals will know that that is not how Animals begins. It is how the first issue of Animals ends, with
Wow.
a alternate version of that tale. So yeah, I'm glad for whatever reason that unlocked the fact that like that was the actual moment of inspiration on like what what if, right? What if?
Right. Right. Now, I tell you this, I'm you've hooked me. I'm gonna have to check these out. I'm gonna have to
Okay.
jump in there and jump on those. Now, I haven't pulled up the project yet. Or
Mhm.
you mentioned some of your other work. Is that going to be available in this Kickstarter as well? Or
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the tiers on it is called something like Keith's Collected Works. So
gotcha,
what that is I think there's a digital version where you can just get everything, and then I think there's a physical version as well. And it may not be. It's either everything or it's very close to everything. So you can just like grab everything I've ever done to date. So yeah, I mean that has the options are definitely there. You can start with Animals 2. You can also get Animals One. You can do digital. You can do physical, and there are opportunities to not just check out the other books I do, but there are also add-ons for Invader Books because Invader is a company that I co-own, and we've been putting out indie books. Same thing, Jerry. Just trying to get the word out, trying to
gotcha,
get people to know who we are, and just trying to continually release cool stuff. So you can not only check out the stuff I do, but you have the option to do some add-ons and grab some of our books. In fact, one of the tiers actually is called the Invader Horror Bundle, where you
oh
can
wow,
get Animals and a bunch of other horror books that we do that we're very proud of.
okay, I'll definitely have to check that out. And guys, I made this easy. So right down in the description, you're going to have the link to the Kickstarter. All you're going to have to do is hit that link. It's going to take you straight to the Kickstarter. And guys, get on this book. Yeah, check out some of Keith's other stuff. It's tremendous stuff. And I'm gonna hold off right there. I'm
Hmm.
one question. I've got another question for you
No,
that's
please.
been
Yeah.
eating at me. The collaboration process. Do you,
Hmm.
when you're working with your artist, do you tend to go with the full script, or do you kind of go with the Marvel method? How
Mm.
is that collaboration process with your artist?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question, and the short answer is it varies. Um,
Gotcha.
the longer version of that short, I mean, the longer version of that short answer, I started writing full scripts when I was just learning what I was doing.
Right.
And the person I worked with, the artist on the first roughly 10 issues, like 9.5 issues of Kadoja, he did almost everything on Kadoja. And he also did more than two-thirds of Three Protectors Volume 1, a guy named Rory Smith. And so it didn't take long before Rory just started to ask, like, okay, you don't really need to script the action too much. Just let me know what's going on. So I would just say these 6 pages are giant monsters fighting. This stuff has to happen. Drop it in there. Then
Gotcha.
Rory moved on to a career in animation, which he still has,
Wow.
and then I found other artists. And what happened there was because I didn't know them, I had to go with full scripts. And what was interesting was they all loved full scripts, even if some of them wanted to do their own thing. Like one of them, Will
Right.
Perkins, had a great line because I asked him, "Do you want a full script? Do you want me to say more or say less?" He's like, "I want you to say more so I can see as much of your vision as possible, and then I'll act accordingly, right?"
Right.
And that's the way it carried on until recently, and it's great because through an unusual set of circumstances, I'm actually working with Rory Smith again on a brand new project that won't come out for a while, but we are doing Marvel Method. And so Marvel Method, it's actually the thing I'm currently experiencing and I'm kind of enamored with because it's when you know the person, oh my God, it's so great. So it's very
Definitely. You
rewarding.
develop that shorthand.
Yeah.
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 And
How about
it
you? You know,
man,
what's your
I usually, like with end of days, man, that thing's been living in my head for over 20 years. If so, that one's easy.
yeah.
Really. Now, I haven't worked out every little word of the script. I have a Bible that I go off of that I wrote a couple years ago, and I kind of go off of that. And then usually it just depends. I mean,
Hmm.
if I have a story that really is a direction that I'm wanting to go and I'm really dialed in on it, yeah, I'll go in and write the full script. Um, I recently did Ballad of the Damned with Matt Martin, which was the
Hmm.
prequel to End of Days, and yeah, I went with full script with that, and because I knew exactly what I wanted it to be down to every last little detail. I pulled a Chris Claremont on him. I said I would never do that, and I did. But Matt was awesome. I mean, Matt would reach out to me and say, "Hey, I see what you're trying to do here, and but what about this?"
Hmm.
And we would get together and we would work that out. And I mean, he brought so much to the original script and
Hmm.
just made it even better. But yeah, on some things I do the Marvel method.
Yeah.
I've got the basic plot in my head, like Bounty. I haven't worked all that out yet, but I have the basic plot that I'm wanting to go with, and I'm running off the Marvel method, and I'll go
Yeah.
in and fill in the cracks after I get it out there,
Yeah.
and get the artwork done.
Yeah. Yeah. Something I found too, working on Marvel Method is, if I'm not I'm not doing this for that reason, but a
Right,
tiny little side benefit is that you do get a little bit of a dopamine hit because the way that I'm doing Marvel Method is like Rory sent back the pages, and then I printed them out. So I print them out like I was just on an airplane yesterday, and so I printed them out. I'm trying to like put the word bubbles in the right places and do all that stuff. And the
right.
flight attendant is walking down the aisle. He's like, "Do you do that?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, I write it. A friend of mine draws it." He's like, "Wow, that's really cool." So, I mean, I do it because I really like working physically. That's been my big thing for about the past 6 to 8 months, is just to try to be as tangible as possible. Write in a journal, write freehand, print
Right.
something out and scribble in pencil. And Marvel Method, man, if you're scripting that, do you need a pencil with an eraser, because
Oh
I just
God,
keep
yeah.
on erasing like crazy, right? But it does have a side benefit I didn't even realize, which is people will see what you're doing and they'll be like, "Oh, what are you doing? Are you like, do you make comics?" That kind of thing. So, and
Right,
that's
right.
kind of fun.
It
Again, not
opens all
intended,
kinds of
but
doors, yeah.
yeah, yeah, but very fun, very fun.
Well, Keith, it was such a pleasure to have you on. I wish we had more time so we could really dig into this, but hey, got an open invitation, man. I would
Oh,
love to have you
thanks.
back on.
I would love to
When
be
it
back on. Yeah, yeah, for
it was
sure, for
such a
sure.
pleasure to have you on, man. Best of luck with the campaign.
Yes,
Hey,
thank
man,
you.
plug yourself. Tell everybody what to check out, where to check out, all that good
Sure,
stuff.
sure. Sounds good. Sounds good. So I have an Instagram handle. It's Keith_Invader. That is my one social media that I post on. Really, I mean, I have a Facebook, but everything just is a copy of what I do on Instagram. So you can follow me on Instagram there. I'll put quotes up. I have a podcast with a buddy of mine named Scott, and we talk about making comics. It's called Making Comics. So if people out there want another process podcast, then it's out there waiting for you. So that is my Instagram handle. I also have the website, keithrfoster.com, where all my books are available. And of course, right now I have the Animals #1 and 2 Kickstarter. So you can, if you have Animals #1, you can get yourself a copy of Animals 2 and make the set. And if you've never heard about it before, you can get both of them right now and have the whole story. So again, you can probably search on Kickstarter or click apparently this link right down here somewhere, and check out Animals 1 and 2, and then pick a tier to your taste.
And not only that, I'm gonna get your website in there too. So
Oh, perfect, perfect, awesome. Thank
I'm
you.
gonna make this thing as easy as possible for these guys. I know how I am. If I don't go ahead and get it while my mind's on it, it'll slip. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? So I'm gonna have it right down in the description. So you guys jump right on that stuff. Follow everything Keith's got going on. Check out his work. And tell somebody about it, share it. That's priceless to us is word of
Mm-hmm.
mouth. So, we're not the big two. We don't have that all that advertisement money.
That's right.
You guys are our advertisement. So help get the word out there and let's get this Kickstarter funded, you guys. Keith,
So
such a pleasure. Best of luck with the campaign, bud.
yeah,
I'm gonna have to
likewise.
check out your band. Do you got anything on iTunes or
Oh, we're
anything?
all over. We're all over Spotify. We did
I'm
two
gonna check
fake.
that out.
Yeah, we did two fake exploitation soundtracks from the '70s. So
Oh
we're a
wow.
funk band, and we have all kinds of flavors of funk, and it's on Spotify.
Really cool. We'll have to do a show just on that. Because
I
I
am.
mean, man, music
Thrilled.
literally is my jam.
Oh, okay. No,
I'm
that's
not
awesome.
musically inclined in any shape, form, or fashion, but that's what inspires me. That's kind of
Same.
my open door. What gets the old brain clicking and gets it working. I've
Yep.
constantly got something on in the background while I'm drawing, while I'm writing. I mean,
Hmm.
something's always back there, kind of turning the gears.
Yeah. Yeah.
It all stems from music. But
Same.
anyway,
Same.
hey, best of luck. That's the show, you guys. Get out there, get on this link, back the campaign, follow Keith's stuff. You guys have a blessed one. That's the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Jerry.
It was a pleasure, man. Thank you for being on.